Okay, welcome everyone. I am going to share my screen here. And I want to welcome everyone today. I respect that you are taking some time out of your day to learn a little bit about Lyme disease. Being May, that is Lyme Disease Awareness Month, I'm going to share today about some Lyme, our family's Lyme journey, and just something that has been very foundational in our healing journey. And activation. It's a different term, it's a different technology, and I can't wait to share a little bit more of that as we go on. So, welcome again. If you do not know me and you're hopping on today, I'm Liz Goring. I am a educator by trade. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I have three girls you can see here in the pictures, Emma, Allie, and Kate, and my wonderful husband, Carl. And we have been on a journey. I taught first and second grade for 8.5 years, and I was a literacy specialist. And so my heart has always been in educating and teaching. And my purpose has really changed over the years, and that is because of what myself and my family has gone through. About 9.5 years ago now, I finally got a Lyme diagnosis after 18 years of misdiagnoses. Those of you who are struggling with Lyme or have struggled with Lyme, this is not a story that is uncommon. Taking you way back in 1996, I went on a backpacking trip. When we connected all the dots, this is when it all started. I got home, I got super sick, I got Bell's palsy. But back in the day, doctors dismissed it. I was a healthy athlete. I seem to have somewhat rebounded after that. The paralysis mostly came back in my face. I still have some of my left side. There's some lag there, but for the most part, it came back. And I went into my senior year of high school, definitely feeling the immune dysfunction. My health kind of started going downhill. Ended up with shingles at 18, mono going into my freshman year in college, dealt with severe Epstein-Barr stuff all through college, and I know ongoing throughout all this now. But really, it was, and I'm trying to give you the Reader's Digest version because believe me, we could sit on here for 30 minutes and I could share our story. But I started having a lot of neurological issues in college, in and out of specialists, anxiety, OCD, insomnia, you name it. It really was affecting me, but they could find nothing wrong. They weren't checking for the right things. I was told it was stress. I was told it was an anxiety disorder. They put me on things to mask the symptoms. At one point, I was taking 5 different pharmaceuticals for an array of different issues. After college, my husband, was then my boyfriend, saw things start to go downhill. I started having a lot of migratory pain, in and out of specialists, MRIs, CAT scans, you name it. They thought I had MS, lupus, every autoimmune disease, but nothing came back. And there was no clear indicator. So I was given band-aids, putting band-aids on these symptoms, living life, not feeling like my optimal best, and still, just for a while, just had to live like that. And it was debilitating at times. But I kept advocating, I kept pushing through, and I'm so grateful because that diagnosis 9 years ago finally gave me some direction and healing. The crazy part is, ever since the birth of all three of my kids, which I had a lot of issues hormonally, so it was not easy to even conceive. Since birth, many different issues. We were in and out of specialists with my oldest for a lot of headaches, migraines, blurry vision. Again, no one could connect the dots. My middle struggled with a lot of different neurological stuff from the onset, not typical tantrums with the toddler, but really bipolar type behavior, really anxious child. And then my youngest had a lot of GI issues. We were trying to figure out, she had almost like that Ethiopian pot belly. Had SIBO. She had all these different issues with parasites. Well, lo and behold, we come to find that I transferred Lyme through utero to all three of my kids. So to say we've been on a journey is an understatement. And why I'm here today and creating awareness regarding Lyme and advocating, and just sharing different tools in the tool belt to help, is really where my heart is. So we're going to go into a little bit. Most of you that are on here might be familiar with what Lyme is, but if you're not, I just have a few things that I want to share statistically. Lyme really now is in all 50 states, Canada, and every continent except Antarctica. Lyme is very autoimmune-like. So you can see here that these are things that I was diagnosed with throughout the years. Fibromyalgia, anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue syndrome. Those are all labels that were given to me because they couldn't find out the root cause. So a lot of times Lyme can be an underlying factor in a lot of these different health issues, and it acts very autoimmune-like. So this May, I've been getting loud and creating a lot of awareness just regarding Lyme because it's so important for people to understand. And we know now that this ever so rapidly growing tick population really has people kind of ears perked up because this is something you don't want to mess with. Um, if you know someone or if you've dealt with Lyme, it is a systemic bacteria. It really affects all of the organs, all of the systems. You can have flu-like symptoms from the beginning, swollen lymph nodes, fatigue. It can affect your digestive system. We get a lot of people that I've seen that have a lot of abdominal pain, nausea, SIBO, irritable bowel, leaky guts. I mean, if you look at a Lyme checklist and symptom-wise, there's over 300 different things, and not one person I've met that deals with Lyme, a lot of similar things, but it's like everyone seems to affect them differently. So neurologically speaking, neural Lyme is very common. I see a lot of people now with headaches, stiff necks, cognitive impairments, neuropathy. They have Bell's palsy, like I did, sleep problems. It can affect your heart. A lot of people have POTS-like syndromes. You can get that shortness of breath, heart palpitations, chest pains, and the list goes on. And of course, there's the musculoskeletal stuff with arthritis, muscle aches, joint swelling, joint pain, all these different things. And I know I said in the beginning, I am an educator by trade, but I have since gone back now and become a certified health coach and Lyme specialist. So I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be a doctor, but living 18 years in and out of specialists, trying pretty much everything under the sun to regain my health. I feel like a pretty good expert, and now it's been such a blessing to walk along other people that are dealing with this to help guide them, help coach them, and just share my knowledge of what I've been through. So if you're on here today and you weren't aware, it is called Lyme is the great imitator. And it often gets, like I shared before, misdiagnosed. There's so many people walking around with underlying Lyme that really could be chronic fatigue, or sorry, they're getting labeled with chronic fatigue, MS, Parkinson's, ALS, tumors, just feeling like you're crazy, ADHD, fibromyalgia, and really at the root can be Lyme. So obviously, I do not. There's definitely a disease state, but Lyme is also one of those things that imitates a lot of these different diseases. So ticks not only carry Lyme, and I don't want to, I'm not on here to create fear today, and I'm not saying that every tick out there is carrying Lyme, but they can have a different other pathogenic loads in them. And some of the most common infections that you can also get that are transferred from a tick could be co-infections like Babesia, Bartonella, Ehrlichia, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, anaplasmosis, tularemia, Heartland virus, Powassan fever, alpha-gal syndrome, which is really rising right now, and relapsing tick fever. These are just a few of the many co-infections and a slew of things that these vector-borne things can transmit through a tick bite. So I not only dealt with Lyme, the Borrelia, but I also had 6 co-infections. I was dealing with Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Mycoplasma, Ehrlichia, Babesia, what else did I have? Epstein-Barr virus, Bartonella. Those are common things too. So it affects you in many different ways. These ticks can. So we know that these are the main carriers of Lyme, but you can also, and they're finding more so, like mosquitoes, spiders, and other biting insects can also spread the disease. It's not as common, but they are finding that this can be another source. So just being aware, this is why I'm here, is to create awareness. There really is no minimum attachment time. People say, oh, if it hasn't been attached for 24 hours, but really, there isn't. There's the longer the tick is attached, there is a greater chance of it transmitting something, but there are no studies showing that minimum attachment time for transmission from Lyme to humans, and especially in the nymph ticks, you can see how little they can be. So You just have to very much, if you get bitten by a tick, take, the proper measures to remove it properly and as soon as you can, for sure. So you can see down below, I know it's kind of a little picture, but the different sizes of ticks, they can range from those nymph ticks that are really like a poppy seed all the way up to one that can be like almost like the tip of an eraser. When you're going to remove a tick, you definitely want to do it properly. I have a lot of guides and different things that I share with my clients and population just to for proper tick removal. You can see it just using fine tip tweezers, getting as close as you can to the head at the skin and pulling straight up. There's also a lot of other great tick tools and tick kits that make it really easy to remove these ticks as well. And if you have animals, especially too, cats, dogs, different things that are coming in and out of the house, very common for them to be bringing them in. So just make sure to protect yourself. You can see the picture here of this gentleman, just making sure if you're outside and enjoying the outside because we want to. It's summer. If you're in a place where you can do that, a lot of times we like to be going in the hikes, going to the beach, doing all these things, but just make sure that you're doing the right things, like walking the middle of the trails, or using the right repellents and different things to protect yourself. Wearing long sleeve shirts and longer socks if it's not if you're able to, if you're in the wooded areas, and then just doing tick checks when you're done. I think it's a good idea that when you're coming in the house or you're rinsing off, check in places like behind your ears and your armpits. They like to go to like warmer, moist places. The groin line, I had someone that, that's unfortunately they like to climb where they're gonna have that moist, warm behind the knees, that kind of thing. So just being aware when you are coming in to do a good check for yourself. Another thing about Lyme is that the testing is really unreliable. So often it's a clinical diagnosis if it's gone chronic. If you have an acute case of Lyme, like you've been bitten within the first 6 weeks, there are really proactive measures you can do with antibiotics and that kind of thing that can help more so eradicate it. But when it goes chronic, it's really hard to sometimes detect because of the testing is so poor. So sometimes via a clinical diagnosis is based on your medical history, symptoms, if you've been exposed to ticks. But many of the typical Lyme disease tests are insensitive, and a negative test does not necessarily mean that you don't have Lyme. So why you might get a negative result even though you are positive, because there's not been time for antibodies to develop. That could be a reason. The immune system might be suppressed. It's a very stealthy pathogen, so it takes different forms in the body, and it's like the immune system almost stops recognizing it as a foreign invader. So if your person may be infected with a strain the test doesn't measure. There's a lot of different strains of Borrelia now. There's some great functional labs that are out there. Vibrant Labs and IGeneX are two of the ones that I suggest to people. So really, here's the reality of Lyme disease. So each year, nearly 500,000 people in the US are diagnosed and treated for Lyme disease, and millions of people are exposed to tick bites. For some reason, the symptoms seem to resolve, and for others, they don't. So we're going to talk now for the rest of the time here about what makes the difference in that. And it really comes down to a couple different things. If the exposure were only factor, everyone would have the same outcome, but they don't. So it's not just the microbe, it's also the terrain it enters, meaning our bodies. So this is when we're going to really dive into like the foundational terrain theory, our health, and what is at the root of what's going on inside us. So cells, stress, and chronic illness, these microbes like Borrelia, they can go dormant inside the cells. And healthy cells are often better able to regulate and contain these stressors. So if you are doing the right things, treating the body well, like you could carry the Lyme and not have any symptoms. Stressed and depleted cells may struggle to keep up. And we're going to share what creates that stress. So cellular stress, you're getting this from the environment. You're getting this from chronic stress that we are put under daily, poor sleep. We have highly processed foods. Obviously, environmental toxins are coming from every direction these days. EMF exposure, mold, heavy metals, lack of movement. constant stimulation. So if you think about it, person A here has cells, they have energy and resources to regulate the microbes and keep them contained. The microbes may persist, but they don't cause problems. Person B, on the other hand, their cells are depleted, they're overwhelmed, so microbes are more likely to reactivate and spread, causing symptoms. So this microbial reactivation creates a vicious cycle and keeping the cells in a perpetual state of stress. So what do we do? Like that's the part where I'm going to share a little of my healing journey. So for years and years, I lived in this chronic state of stress. And I was depletion wide navigating mostly undiagnosed Lyme. It's really been the last 9 years I've been focusing on my healing, and really, I would say I've been in a remission state now for probably close to 7 years. Once I got the diagnosis, it took me a lot of time, and it's still ongoing to really get my body into a better state of health here. So that journey completely changed the way I understood healing. I did not know what I know today. And recovery is not just about eliminating these microbes. It's about supporting the body so it can function, regulate, and heal. Because if you have had a Lyme diagnosis, if you've dealt with Lyme, if you've gotten yourself into a better space, like that's where you want to honor the body. That's where you want to keep our bodies in a good state. And it takes a lot of work because different stressors, different things could trigger almost like that autoimmune response. And they talk about what people having relapses or flares. It can be very common, but it also you can also stay in a great place of health. I mean, I tell people, I can't say I'm cured from Lyme. I can't say, but I can say that like I will never go backwards again. And I wholeheartedly believe that. It takes mind, body, spirit to really tackle this, but healing requires a lot, and it's not a one size fits all kind of solution here. So these are the things I want to talk about today with our time left, about reducing inflammation, supporting detox pathways, balancing your nervous system, restoring your gut health, improving your sleep because that is when we heal, replenishing nutrients. I know that a lot of times we eat all this good food, but our body's not utilizing it the right way. Really need to work on the gut. So supporting the body at a cellular level has been it has been my main focus for the past 7 years of my healing journey. And this is where this whole activation part comes in. I was introduced to this nuke activation component 7 years ago. Good friend, neighbor, she's the one who shared it with me. And honestly, if it wasn't Katrina, I probably wouldn't have listened because at the time I was taking 2 granny pill boxes full of supplements, doing all the right things. I knew via blood I was deficient in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, throwing all these things in my body, not knowing what was working, and still not feeling like I was in a good place. We felt like we had gotten the Lyme into a better place, but then it was, working on healing the system. So what's different about activation? Much different than supplementation. It's not about forcing the body. It's about supporting the body's own God-given pathways so your cells can better respond to stress, inflammation, and toxic burden. So if you think about it pretty layman's terms, healthy cells creates a healthier environment for healing. So this is why my ears perked up. So there's something in your body, it's called your NRF2 protein, and it's responsible for supporting your antioxidant and detoxification defenses. And if you are dealing with Lyme, Lyme is directly linked to oxidative stress. Like most disease states is linked to oxidative stress. So if you think about reducing that naturally, it's going to benefit your healing. It's going to do good for the body. Obviously, when I talk about these products, we can't claim to treat, mitigate, or prevent any disease or illness, but this has been such a huge tool in my tool belt that I can't not share about this. So you cannot ingest enough antioxidants to impact free radicals. So if you're eating one blueberry, it's great. It's got great antioxidants, but it's fighting one free radical. And it's going to take a lot of blueberries to fight all that inflammation and the oxidative stress in your body. So if you think about it that way, you can't ingest enough antioxidants to impact free radicals and your oxidative stress in significant ways, but you can activate your key enzymes that increase your antioxidant production in huge amounts, proven to drastically reduce oxidative stress in your body. And this is where our flagship product, if you're not familiar with the company, it's LifeVantage. And they came out with this NRF2 activator. And what this does is it supports your own body's production of powerful antioxidants to fight signs of aging. So, in five herbs and synergistically, you could take these five herbs, turmeric, green tea, milk thistle, bacopa, ashwagandha. You could take those separately and they're all great, but it is actually the blended synergistic formula that reduces the oxidative stress in your body by 40% in 30 days. It significantly reduces the cellular stress through the NRF2 activation. And if you're not familiar, your NRF2, you have a pathway in your body called the NRF2 pathway. So it actually activates this pathway to start producing enzymes capable of neutralizing more than 1 million free radicals per second for the lifetime of the enzyme. So it is rampantly, it's like putting a fire hose inside your body instead of just a little Dixie cup of water. Um, so this was something that my ears perked up, and I knew that I needed help with detoxification. I also have the MTHFR gene mutation, the double mutation, so my body does not properly detoxify, and I knew I had that working against me. So I was looking for anything that could help my body detoxify better, and this actually helps your genes and regulates its survival genes. So it's really doing helping your own body to naturally repair and rejuvenate its own cells. So, pretty powerful. If you are a doctor or a researcher or in the medical field, PubMed is where all these researchers and doctors go to do their research. If you went to PubMed, you would find, and you wrote in oxidative stress and Lyme disease, there will be many different articles that come up that directly show how oxidative stress is linked to Lyme. And so reducing it naturally is going to benefit you in the long run. So by activating your NRF2 pathway, it's been shown to raise your internal glutathione by 300% in 30 days. I was going to a lab once a week for 4 months, getting glutathione drips or glutathione pushes. I was doing liposomal glutathione. I was doing that thing much different than supplementing the body. It's actually activating your own glutathione production to start ramping up in the body. And if you're not familiar with glutathione, it is huge when you're dealing with Lyme. It's a strong antioxidant found in everyone's cells, and it can lower cellular waste products called oxidation agents and free radicals. So when you're dealing with Lyme and going through Lyme treatments or just trying to get the bad stuff out of your cells in your body, it is what's helping it do that. It can repair cell damage and help remove the toxins. In chronic Lyme disease and co-infections, based on its function and clinical research, it's a useful support for liver detoxification. Our bodies are working super hard to clear this stuff, liver inflammation. And then if you are going through Lyme treatments, a lot of times you have these Herxenheimer reactions, which your body cannot get rid of the bad stuff fast enough. And so you start recirculating these toxins. Well, this can help get some of that toxic load out faster. So I love that because it's doing what it should, and your own body's processes are really working hard at that. When I first learned about activation 7 years ago, I started on what's called the Vitality Stack, and this really covers all four pillars of health. You have your NRF2 activator that I just shared about, and we also took this activation technology and put into other products. So we have a NRF1 activator, and this activates your mitochondria production. And we know how important mitochondria health is. It supports cellular health and energy production to power your whole body. So the NRF1 is actually activating your mitochondria production. I know in the past I'd taken many different things to help with mitochondria. This is actually helping that produce the energy in the cell, and your body's actually activating that to do that. It also has your omegas. We have a really clean omega source, which is great for brain and heart health, supports cardiovascular health and cognition as well. And then obviously the omegas is doing good immune support along with the probiotic. Our probiotic has a couple of special beneficial bacterias to help support the digestive tract, and it has this well-immune technology, so it's getting deposited in the right place of the GI tract, and it has a special coating, so it really helps to get through that stomach acid. A lot of probiotics can't even get through that to help heal that gut lining. So definitely was my go-to when I first started. You can see here, I know it's kind of hard to see, but this is another article. We have lots of published peer-reviewed studies out there, and this was just about a new insight into Lyme disease. And from the Science Journal, they talk about Lyme disease, oxidative stress, mitochondria dysfunction, cytokine reaction that happens when a person has Lyme disease. This is really important information if we want to give our bodies what it needs to be able to heal from this awful disease. So just kind of, there's a lot of articles out there, and I'm always happy to get those to you if you're interested in diving more into the science part, because I'm kind of a science nerd like that. So just a couple other products that I want to talk about that have been very supportive is this, activated liquid collagen paired with our NRF2 activator. So the NRF2 activator that I said we were founded on, they like to pair it with our other products, and it synergistically works together to upregulate each other. And they have different studies and different things um, that they can do when they're better together. So you can see here that, collagen, if you're not familiar, is the most abundant protein in our body and major component of our skin, bones, muscles, tendons, all that stuff. And as we age, our own body's collagen production decreases, leading to a lot of things. I mean, not just vanity wise, like wrinkles, but joint pain, weaknesses of bones. And collagen is also a risk when a person has chronic illness like Lyme disease. So, according to Dr. Rawls, a lot of you might be familiar with him. He does great stuff for the Lyme community. There's a link between loss of collagen and Lyme disease because Borrelia is possibly the most well-known microbe with the ability to break down collagen. So, Lyme is definitely breaking down the collagen in your body. So, not surprisingly, many of the symptoms of chronic Lyme disease occur at location of high density collagen, like your joints, your ligaments, your skin, your eyes, your gums, your heart, your brain, your tissues. It's all made of collagen. So inflammation and breakdown of collagen by microbes are likely to driving forces behind a lot of these symptoms in these locations. So this True Science liquid collagen, there's nothing like it. It has 10 different collagen peptides. And by using these 10, including these full 10 peptides in our liquid collagen, we are seeing results and benefits all over the body. So including vital tissues and organs. And, each of those types of collagens, it really connects to different systems of the body. And when you pair this with the NRF2 activator, it's helping get that body back into balance. It works on something called fibroblast cells, and it's really necessary, and it helps to reduce the unnecessary signaling in your body, recovering from stress, and restoring optimal function again. So it's pretty amazing stuff. I definitely can't go a day without both of these products. Something else, when we were talking about gut health, we have an array of different gut products. We just launched last October this new P84 product. It's a two-part system that two packets you put together, and you take it to make gut peptides. It activates 14 key gut peptides. It's like 10 products in one. So it's 84 phytonutrients, and it's prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics, digestive enzymes. It is a systemic gut system that is really the ultimate offense for gut health strategy. I have noticed even since October, neurologically, I said I was impacted a lot with different things. Like I'm always looking to improve my neuro health, and I have noticed more clear-headedness, more focus, just from this. I rarely get sick anymore, and I know when I work with my clients too, with my coaching, I always focus on the gut because the gut is the gateway to all the other systems, your brain, your detoxification system, your immune system. It's connected to so much. So definitely a great product when looking at total gut health. So it's pretty amazing too. And this is kind of a cool fact. I thought your gut can make its own peptides, and those peptides control the key functions of your 30-foot long digestive tract. I had no clue it was that big. One other thing I want to talk about, because there's an array of different products that LifeVantage has, but this has been another one, and I'm just sharing my most favorite things that have really impacted my own health and healing is Axio. I cannot go, not kidding, I have two a day. They call it Smart Energy. It's not like Monster, Red Bull, any of that stuff filled with anything. It's actually, they took the NRF2 actives and put it into this drink. And it's a nootropic and it's brain food, literally. It improves mental endurance, mental acuity, concentration, memory retention. I remember when I first had my first Axio, it's like the lights came on. Just good sustained energy, no jitters, no crash, that kind of feel. But it helps with that mental fatigue, brain fog. I know if you're dealing with Lyme, you know what I'm talking about. But it's clean, low calorie, low carb, doesn't have, it's a vegan formula. Athletes, great for athletes too. If you have athletes out there, my kids absolutely love this. And my kids too are activated as well. So there is decaf and caffeine options available there. But with that said, we know Lyme disease treatment and strategies. It is not an individualized one size fits all because if you've walked the walk, you know there's things that I've tried on my journey that have not been in my favor, and there's things that have worked for me that haven't worked for someone else. But activation, I can say, it's rooted in science. It can really help get to the root of cellular dysfunction. And when we're talking about the terrain and getting your terrain into a good state, it's just going to give you a leg up for your healing. So, when dealing with Lyme, what are some things that people have tried? Because we talked about like there's so many ways. Like I said, this is not meant to treat, mitigate, or prevent Lyme at all. This is a support. This is a tool in the tool belt that can help. But herbals, people use pharmaceuticals, antimicrobials. Obviously, we talked a little bit about probiotics, anti-inflammatories, immune boosting therapies, biofilm busting therapies, of course, diet changes, reduction in toxic load, cellular repair, infrared saunas, pain management, IV therapies, glutathione boosters. There's so many great modalities and things out there. And there's things I do in conjunction with activation that obviously supports my ongoing health and healing too. Unfortunately, a lot of these things are not covered by insurance, which we know. So we know that Lyme disease is also a financial strain, mentally, emotionally, financially, it can impact us in all ways. So in closing here, really what you need to think about when it comes to Lyme, when it comes to just working through what you're going through, is you need to give the body, and whatever it is, it could be another health problem or a health issue you're dealing with, you need to give the body what it needs because recovery is possible. So, awareness, like getting on today and learning with me, education, and foundational support all matter. Doing the right things with your diet, doing the right things with your sleep, with your water, with your exercise, with your movement, like that is foundationally going to really be a huge, huge gain to you, your body, your cells, your health, your ongoing longevity. Um, Obviously, too, you have to have belief you're going to get better, and hope. I hope that I can provide. I'm a completely different person than I was 9 years ago, and I'm so grateful. My doctor even said that to me 5 years ago. He's like, via blood, you are a completely new human. And I just turned 47 on Monday, so I just hope to age with grace, and I hope to keep doing it in the way that I'm doing. Having faith, whether that's your own God, whoever you believe in, but just making, having the faith in whatever you may believe in. Give your body grace, give yourself grace, have compassion for the healing process. It is a roller coaster of a ride, especially if you are dealing with Lyme or anything chronic. Rest, listen to your body. It took me a long time. I'm a type A, you guys. I push through, I work hard, but you need to honor it. You need to rest. You need to work on your nervous system. Regulating your nervous system is so key. I see for a lot of people that are having a hard time getting into a better state, that is like a big component, and the emotional component. Being open-minded to learn about new things, and just the possibility that like you can regain your health, you can regain your life. Like I, at 47, feel the best I have felt since I've been 18. And it makes me usually a little emotional, but I just don't want anyone to have to live like I lived. And I hope today that you took something out of this. We have miracle bodies and miracle ways to get into a better space of health. So just honor that. And, really focus on what our bodies come down to is cellular health. You need to be doing something, whether it's what I shared today or what you're working on and doing to just really support those cells. So I really appreciate everyone hopping on today to learn with me. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the person who invited to use this Zoom. And I hope you guys have a blessed day and take care.